How's it going today? I've received a few requests for a follow-up video to the seam sealing of the River Country Products Trekker 2. Now, I have taken that tent out a couple of times since I seam sealed it, but on none of those trips did we get any bad weather. So I don't really know if the seam sealing worked or not. What I have done today is I've set the tent up in the backyard on the lawn, and I have the sprinkler set up to just completely douse it. So I'm going to turn on the water, we're going to let it run for quite a while, and we will check the inside of the tent and see if there is any water inside. If there's not after the first time, I'll leave the sprinklers on for a longer duration, and then we'll check again, and so on, and see kind of what the breaking point is of the seam sealing. So we've got about 4 minutes left on the clock, and I can see a pretty significant amount of water beating up and just running off and running down the guy lines. So that is encouraging, but we won't really know until we step inside the tent. All right, so the 15 minutes is up. Let's open the tent and see what we see. So I do see a little bit of spotting in the center of the tent. Now that could have come through the mosquito netting with the wind blowing like it is in my backyard, and it's only on the side that the wind is coming from, so I'm not super concerned with that. If you're like on the trail, that's something you can adjust by just closing that flap. What I am concerned about is I've got a pretty significant drip here and another one here. I'm not sure where those would have come from. So this was just 15 minutes with the water on. Let's turn the water back on for a longer duration and keep an eye on those two spots there in particular. All right, so this time I left it on for a full 30 minutes. Let's go take a look. So the first thing I notice, it's got some pretty significant puddling right in this corner. It looks like it's coming in through here. That corner's dry, but this back corner, oh my goodness. I mean, that's kind of a lot of water. Huh. A little drip there. So what I'd like to do now is to set the camera up inside the tent, focusing primarily on that back corner, because that seems to be where the majority of the water is coming in. And we're going to let the sprinklers run again for probably 15 or 20 minutes and see if we can figure out exactly where it's dripping, and then maybe I can add some more seam sealant to that area. So before I set the camera up inside the tent, I just want to show you this, and hopefully you can see it. I went over into this corner and tried to see if I could see where the drip was coming in. And as soon as I moved the tent, you could just see water dripping right in. And the sprinklers aren't even on right now. So it's coming in along this seam. I can feel just how saturated that is. And that's with 2 layers of seam sealing on it, inside and out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this towel and dry everything up inside, so any new water we see on this test we'll know came from this test. So it looks like we got a lot more water in that corner. You can see it coming in right here, just pouring in. Yeah, so I'm going to attempt to seam seal that area again, and we will try this test some other day. So total time with water in the tent was about an hour. And anyone who's been in the backcountry for any significant amount of time knows that it's not out of the question for it to rain for an hour or more. So if we're getting that much water in the tent in an hour with what I would consider a simulation of a light but steady downpour, you know, if you had more significant rain, bigger drops, you'd probably see more water. So that's kind of disappointing altogether. I will try to seam seal it again in the 2 areas that I can see that are still letting water in, and we'll revisit this another day. But I think based on this test and just the overall sturdiness of the tent, both of the side guy lines that hold out the big vents have broken on me and have had to been sewn back on. So I kind of feel like maybe with the amount of effort you have to put into the tent just to make it usable, it's probably just worth buying a slightly more expensive shelter and foregoing the River Country Products tent altogether. So I resealed those problem areas, left the tent up overnight to dry, and I'm going to run the sprinklers again, and we'll just see if that additional seam sealant helped at all. So this time I let the water run for about 35 to 40 minutes, and it's pretty dry in here. I'm pretty impressed. There is a tiny little bit in that same corner. I can show you that. And you can see it kind of building up here along this seam. But overall, it's a big improvement. I still think that my conclusion from yesterday, that it's probably just better to get a different tent if you think you're going to go into the rain. I like this tent, and so it's kind of a bummer that the leaking is such an issue. I probably will still carry it when I go on trips with my dog, and I'm pretty sure we won't see any weather. But overall, seems like I might be tent shopping again. I hope you enjoyed the update. I hope you found the information useful, and we will talk again soon.